Well, 2 losses in a row, and we are out of the 8. The Dons lose by 28 points to the reigning premiers at the MCG on a sunny afternoon at the MCG. Good evening. Welcome back to the Don Pod. I'm joined by Mr. Nathan. Hello, sir.
Mr. Nathan. Hello,
Yes.
Mr. Sam.
How are we?
Am I like a puppet?
Yeah, sure.
I feel like it should be.
You can be a puppet if you
I'm
like.
okay, Sam. A little on the sad side,
Yeah,
but
Sam.
working my way through it.
Okay, glad to hear. Essendon 16-8, 104, defeated by Geelong 20 goals, 12, 136. Wiedemann 5 goals, Stringer 4, Shield 2, Redmond, Waller, Hobbs, Draper, Caldwell 1 each. Disposals, Parrish 38, Stringer 26, and Shield Martin 22. Before we move into too many numbers, I'll get your initial thoughts, if that's okay.
I was very frustrated with the first quarter. And that's polite podcast speak for fucking flipped off.
Yes.
Just like I hate Geelong. Like I think I hate them more than the other clubs because I'm just sick of their success. You know, like I'm just over
Jealousy, yeah.
I'm just sick of the commentators, you know, the way they talk about, they're big body. Yeah, of course they're big body. They're all 35. We've all been playing footy for 36 years. So, you know, I get frustrated. And plus, I don't like the commentators that were on the game because they kind of annoy me too. It was Dwayne. He really
not Dwayne,
grinds my gears.
It's why you go to games, Nathan.
That's true.
That.
And then to watch them kick, 6 or whatever it was, before we even kicked one, I was like, ugh. And I knew after that, look, we'll get going and we'll probably lose the game by about those 6 goals.
Yep. I sat there thinking the exact same thing. First home game at the G for the year, so I was there.
Yep.
Just frustrating because they scored the 6 goals, I reckon, in 15 minutes in the first quarter, and every single goal, ball up, clearance, goal, ball up, clearance. Like, there was no.
Yeah.
It was.
It barely went up our other end, barely went up our forward end.
It was all my worst nightmares at once.
I did take something away from it because I did notice that on the Sunday game, or the game after us, was Collingwood and Adelaide. And Collingwood, I think, had the first 3 or 4 kicks against them.
Yep, 4 goals.
So I wonder if that was that short break from both of our clubs, you know, just struggling to get into the rhythm of the game back again.
I think it's a reasonable point. I think if it had been the whole game, I wouldn't be quite as forgiving.
Same.
But we did sort of fight back into it. So,
I
think it's semi-acceptable. I think we're making excuses.
We're making excuses, which I hate making because last year we had to. I don't think we ran out of excuses, probably. But I felt like we made a lot of excuses last year, and then we were playing good footy this year. Now we've had 2 losses. You know, we say honourable losses.
Yes,
I don't believe in them.
Neither do I. But when you're playing Premiership favourites and reigning premiers, you're
and
it has to be okay sometimes.
You're right. I know.
Right. The numbers, plus 16 disposals, which was interesting, but minus 11 contested. I think that evens itself out a little bit, perhaps. Minus 17 inside 50s. Probably helped by the minus 8 in clearances. Plus 12 hit-outs, but minus 8 clearances. And that was so much worse in the first half. It was so obvious at the game, too, that we're winning all these hit-outs, but they're going straight to Geelong plays. We actually won centre clearances, which kind of negates my previous point. Minus 12 at the stoppages, minus 26 marks, minus 7 of those inside 50. And they took 12 contested marks to 3, which I think illustrates the difference in size and strength.
Well,
and somewhat ability.
Their loose player, usually been
Do you mean?
Sorry?
Tom Stewart,
yeah. Again, another 30-year-old.
Very good player.
Very good player. But he played a better loose role than our loose defenders.
Well, actually,
way too scared to go away from their forwards because they kept kicking goals on them.
Actually,
which is understandable.
I think we learned a little bit from kicking it to Moore last week. I don't recall us kicking it too much to Stewart in particular. I know we turned the ball over a fair bit on half forward, but we didn't kick it to Tom Stewart. So, I mean, I don't know if you can count that as a little small win, but into the nitty-gritties we go. I think we've already touched on the slow start. Yes, short break, but it's been a little bit of a theme. Maybe not starting so much, but conceding runs of goals. So I still think there's a bit of an issue.
And it's not just this year. It seems to be consistent over like a period of time.
Yeah.
We can get really loose games in that first 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. The key, I mean, the good thing, I guess, is we are able to stabilise eventually, but as is the case against a good side like Geelong,
you find
yourself 40 points down, whatever we were.
Yeah,
inevitably, you will get a momentum swing.
They don't let you back in.
Eventually, you'll get a momentum swing. When you do that, and we did in the third quarter, we kicked 3 or 4 goals, but we're still 4 goals down.
That's right. And then they just kick 2 and all of a sudden your heads drop again and you're like, well, we're back to where we were.
Yeah, and it's just over.
Yep.
I want to ask you about Andrew Phillips, Flipper.
Yes.
And whether you think he gets another game on current form.
No.
Good answer. He dropped 2 of the easiest marks.
The one that bounced off his chest, like, is that on your wing? Like somewhere near you?
It was half forward up the other end, yeah.
And they kicked a goal from... They're the ones that I was really burnt by. Like, that's when I had to turn television off for a bit and walk away.
It's just, I
had power tools nearby, so I had to...
Put us all through the telly.
Oh, it's just, they're the ones that kill you. Like, I probably could deal with that if he was a 22-year-old, and geez, he's got still a bit to learn. But the fact that he's 31 or something, whatever, he is, and I'm like, he's never going to be any good. Just move on. Get Bryant playing that role. If we're going to go 2 ruckman.
And what I don't understand too, him and Draper against Melbourne were out and out match winners.
Yep.
2 weeks later, I mean, Draper's fine. He's pretty consistent.
He's been playing consistent, but not great.
Not great, but consistent at least to a
But again, he's 23.
Yes.
I'm okay with that.
On Sunday. 50th game. Hard to believe.
Yeah.
I know VFL didn't play this week, so we haven't got a lot to go on, but the week before, Brian had a very good game of football.
37 hit-outs, something like that.
We'll talk a bit more about the changes later on, but Jesus, you can't be dropping chest mark. Uncontested chest marks twice, and he did it last week too.
Yep. We didn't take a mark last week.
Sorry, Flipper.
I didn't look at his stats this week. I couldn't. He was so far off my shit list that there was too many other others on it. Hang on.
I like
one
him.
mark.
Oh. 1 mark, God. Yeah.
1 mark.
He's a very serviceable footballer.
But 1 mark in 2 weeks for a ruckman is useless.
He needs to be back up to Brian, not.
Yep.
But I guess experience, who knows what they're thinking. Anyway, time will tell.
But he's not, he doesn't look like he's, no offense, he might very well be. I might be getting this wrong. Doesn't look like he's bringing along an on-field leadership. Like, you boys get over there, yeah, back. He looks like he's just struggling to hold his feet in ruck contests, like the number of times he falls down, it's like a big gazelle, like he's just been born and can't quite walk properly.
Such a delicate explanation.
Oh,
I love it. Flying through these, but I'm sure there'll be more conversation as we go. I want to talk about the obvious.
Jake Stringer, yep.
No, we're going to do the sort of questionable stuff, and then we'll move to the good stuff.
It was Uma.
Talk about Hawkins, because that's the elephant in the room, and I mean that in every sense of the word, because he's a friggin' giant.
He is a big 105 kilos. We checked.
Well, I wrote down the difference, so this was obviously a different source, but 198 centimeters and 103 kilos, Hawkins.
That's interesting.
Compared
to the AFL website.
Was that the AFL? Okay,
the AFL has him at 197 and 105 kilos.
Yeah, okay. Compared with BZT, who's about 195 and 91. So I'm comfortable in the fact that it was a rough matchup from the get-go. We have no one else.
But not many teams do have a 100-kilo defender.
But he's just probably lacking a few centimeters and a bit more weight. Like, it wouldn't be much. It would be maybe 10%. That's quite a lot, probably. But, he wasn't that far off. But I thought he played it wrong, particularly first half.
Yep.
He tried to body.
Yep. Agree.
No.
Get off him and jump.
Go and watch Dustin Fletcher. And what made him so amazing was just that ability to spoil.
Yeah, well, he didn't get into those wrestling contests and he played on some big boys, Plugger and that.
Yes.
But he would just stand off him and then come at the last moment using his go-go gadget arms and just punch.
Yep. And I don't think, but like BZT's got long enough arm. I think that's an option. And, he kicked 4 or 5 in the first quarter, Tomahawk.
Or well, maybe it was 5. I don't know.
So he learnt. I think they changed the matchup in the second half.
Yeah, they did. They moved Ridley to him, and BZT went to Cameron, which
kind of worked. But
good experience for both of them too.
I don't blame BZT entirely, but I still think he played it.
I blame the midfield in that first quarter for getting
ball.
absolutely their asses ripped apart and letting the ball go into the inside 50 so easily. Like, there was no pressure on half the kicks. Like, if it wasn't bloody Dangerfield or someone else running in, just, who do I kick it to? Cameron or Cameron? No, I'll go to Tomahawk. Yep, there you go, Tommy.
And so many. I mean, you take those first 700 clearances is what it felt like. You take that out of the equation. The silly little mistakes that we made. First half, it was just
the fumbling.
We were fumbling, and then Paddy Dangerfield hits the contest at full pelt, picks up the ball with one hand, runs away and kicks it straight to lace out to their forward. Like, it kills you, especially when you're dropping chest marks.
Yep.
But even when we got momentum, we shot ourselves in the foot.
Yes.
I think it might have been the second quarter when we'd stabilised a little bit. The margin was still pretty shit, but we'd stabilised at least. BZT took a great intercept mark on half forward. Well, I sat there and went, it was a real relief. Like, maybe that'll just change his fortune a little bit. And then he kicked it straight to a Geelong player who kicked the goal.
Yep.
You can't.
Well, the one for me was Martin, who had a great game. I'm not knocking him, but this moment where we'd kicked 4 maybe or 3 or 4 in the third quarter. He's streaming out of the half back line and he handballs backwards because obviously, I assume he had no options forward.
And that's what they're trained to do is look for that overlap.
Yep,
I'm sure.
But the handball and it just went straight to and I think they scored straight away from it. And I was like,
yeah.
And that killed that moment. If he just kicked it long, probably Stewart was up there by himself, I assume. But at least
you get the chance to reset.
Get the team to reset, and we can defend it. We struggled to do that, actually. The way they moved the ball out of their back half, our forward, was very concerning for a lot of the game. I know we stopped them scoring a lot from it. Like, they didn't score overly.
They moved the ball very quickly.
But the way they easily just chipped it from the kick-ins, like chip, 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 and then all of a sudden they're kicking it inside 50 was very frustrating.
Yeah. We'll kind of transition a little bit into some of the more positive stuff.
Of course.
Martin was essentially responsible for us coming back in that third quarter. I mean, I say come back. We kicked like 4 goals and we ended up back within 4 goals.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm not. He had a great game. That was a very bad moment. You're allowed to say that.
You can pick on the moment, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I want to highlight the fact that he single-handedly, I think he had a hand in 3 of the 4 goals. In the pocket right in front of where I was sitting, he had 2 Geelong players near him. He kind of feigned a handball, turned back around, and had an uncontested kick, then inside 50. Like, it was just
his ball usage into our inside 50. The forwards must love. Like, he kicked a few to Wiedemann on the lead. They must just love that, the way he sees it, because he sees the game as a forward, so he knows where they want it and what they're doing.
He showed a class that a lot of them didn't have.
He does have good games against Geelong.
Does like Geelong, yeah. Not quite as good as his first one, but
no. Did he kick any? He kicked 1, didn't he?
No.
Wow, that's a drop down from last year.
Yeah, only 22 touches too, which is pathetic if you ask me.
Very disappointing.
No, we love Rusty. And he was unreal and got a lot of love from the faithful, which was nice. One thing I want to mention as a positive.
Yep.
And it's, well, I don't know what it is. 104 points we kicked, 16 goals, 8. Yep. That is a winning score.
Well,
like it's only the second time this season Geelong conceded over 100. Yep. And I'm sure that would have been in a loss for them. It's not often that you score 100 and lose. But that's a positive-ish.
Yeah. Well, and take from that,
very strong.
We're still missing our best full forward.
Yep.
There's still probably some small forwards who I think can come in and be more effective. So we're still short some players, but
short at all.
I think there's still a lot to take from that. Short at all. Well, definitely short at all.
Well, I think 16 goals against Geelong. Yes, you're looking for positives, of course, and you don't want to.
What did you think then of the Dylan half forward experiment?
Boy, I think he's been quite I want to say a revelation, but he's kicked 7 or 8 goals, which is more than a goal a game for a midfielder.
Which is more than he's kicked in any other year, I'm sure, if I research. He usually kicks 3 a year.
A year, yeah. And he's kicked 2 twice. Both.
Do you see that? How do you see that going forward?
I think it's fine. I think it's options. And again, probably a great transition into the centre bounces and the attendances.
Yep.
Stringer 80% centre bounce attendances, which we worked out to be about 29 of the 36.
Which was our leading.
There would have been more than that. There would have been 40 because of the quarters. But anyway,
was
well
it leading? Mm-hmm.
Ahead of Parish, Setterfield, and Merritt only had 38%. So either there was an attempt, because it was quite obvious with Stringer that he went to most, and stats back that up. Whether that was a matchup thing with the bigger bodied Geelong mids.
Yep.
Which Scott just went
just as much as likely as whatever your next point is.
Someone with a fat ass to get in there and wreak some havoc.
Does carry a big caboose.
He does. Strong man. Strong through the hips, I think, is the football term for fat ass. He was great, Stringer. But if then we can take Dill out and he has an impact on the scoreboard, then I think we're laughing.
Well, that you're exactly right. If he'd gone half forward and done nothing, then you think, well, where does he play? Like, because I think when you watch a game like that and you see Stringer, and there was not last year, the year before, when he got on that run in the second half of the year, where I think his stats showed him to be the most, like, statistically, he was the most effective player in the year for that second half of the year. Like the what's it called?
The champion data, yeah.
Champion data stuff, ranked him at number 1. Yeah. And in this game, he had 10 clearances. He kicked over 3 goals. So no one else has done that this year. So my question then is, it's not a question, I guess, if I'm stated like that. Do you have to go forward with him playing around that 80% or, 60 to 80% CBAs? So we got Port this week. They're not a skinny little midfield. There's some big boys.
I think it's good to have options. I didn't see that kind of game come. I don't expect to see him in the midfield anymore.
Really? You don't think that he'll do 60% this week?
Well, I'm interested because I don't think it's a Jake Stringer thing. I think it was a matchup thing. Well,
but even if it was a matchup thing, then you got so much out of it. He had 20-odd touches, kicked 4 goals, and 10 clearances. Like, why do you go? Okay, you can go back to the forward line now. Like, why would you do it? Okay, you're playing midfield again.
That's a fair point. But
because no offense to Shield, but he doesn't do that. He doesn't get 10 plus.
No one is doing that clearly, because you just said he's the only one to do it. No one's done this
year. So why would you send that guy back to the midfield? Like, if his body, and maybe it's a thing where he does it until he breaks.
We don't want to force that either.
Yeah, but
we do happen to scrape into the
eight. As a forward, knowing that he could be more effective as a midfield player, but I don't know. Maybe not play him to his break. That was probably a bit harsh, but you have to really manage that. Like, I'd be like, well, we need to get as much as we can out of you, Jake, because we're clearly a better side when you're in that at those CBAs. 10 clearances, 4 goals, 20. What was it? How many possessions?
26, and team high meters gained.
Yeah, so I mean, Shield then, like if he goes to half forward line, and those two can be, I don't know if it's 50-50.
There's a little bit of a sense of robbing Peter to pay Paul, because you're taking out a classy midfielder in Dylan Shield, who led the competition for centre clearances last year. Let's not forget.
But I don't understand your point. You've just put a guy in there who's beaten him already in that one game.
Yeah, I know, but
he's done something he hasn't done this year.
There's a couple of factors in, because you're asking me all these questions and then not letting me answer them.
Oh, sorry, go.
Brad Scott's been talking system over person or people.
Yep.
Yeah, Jake's a bit of a exception to that rule, potentially. I don't think there's a lot of goals kicked, which inflates the pure number, but I don't think he's going to 30 centre bounces every week. I don't think he's got the tank, and I don't think we want to force that onto the guy. I think he's he's had 10 shots at goal against GWS with bugger all centre bounce attendances.
Yep.
So possibly then the answer is that you have a bit of both. You have roll through as an option, but hey, Jakey, you're still a pretty good bloody forward, so we're going to chuck you around the stoppages in the forward line. and use it as a rotation. So clubs don't expect. I don't know. Shit, are we going to get Jake Stringer in, or are we going to get Dylan Shield, or Merritt had bugger all? It's 38%. What are they going to do? It becomes unpredictable.
It's a good point. My counterpoint would be, so if you do put Stringer into that midfield role more, like bump his numbers up, say 50 to 60%, then maybe it allows you to play a Voss-like player in the forward line who can probably kick, You're
just saying that because, I want Voss in the side.
No, well, I'm just saying that it changes your forward line structure, because Stringer playing forward means you can't have another big, like you can't have him, Wiedemann, when Wright's back, and Jones didn't play. Who would we? They were their only tools. I guess we're playing a ruckman down there at the moment to cover the loss of Wright.
It's Phillips/Draper.
Yes. So when Wright's there, it's Wright, it's Wiedemann, it's Stringer, and possibly Jones.
Becomes quite tall.
Yeah.
I think.
Whereas if Stringer plays more of that midfield, but still goes, like, if you look at what DeGoey, I would go to DeGoey as an example. Like, and I know there's an injury and there's an age difference too, because he's had problems breaking down, whereas DeGoey's issues are more outside of the game. But DeGoey now plays a pretty much permanent midfield role after those. Probably 2 years ago, he got moved into that forward, half forward sort of midfield, but then he's now consistently in midfield, and he makes them a better side because of the way he goes about it.
I think you're right to point out that there's a difference between them still, the age and the injury history versus the off-field stuff.
Yep.
DeGoey's more elastic. Jake's a bit more bull.
Yeah, yep.
I think we're kind of agreeing here in that maybe somewhere in between. I think 80%'s a lot, and I don't think we'll see that every year, but every week. Rather. But as an option, roll him through. Even 50%, that's still a lot of midfield time.
Well, I guess with those midfield numbers too, that if we go back to the week before, he had 15%. So, that was probably only a few centre bounces. Yeah. And then he didn't have any. And then the week before that, which was the second game, he had 8%. So they look like they've kind of been building it up, like 8, 15, then jumping to 80.
80, it's a big
jump.
That's why I still think it's a little bit more matchup related.
Yeah.
I would love to see him in there against some midfielders that aren't quite as big an experience, like North Melbourne, who've got some quality players, but they're a bit smaller.
Yeah, fair enough.
And a bit less experienced. You'd probably have a...
I think, though, that I heard Brad Scott say that he's watched him from afar for a long time, but then in this game, something along this, that how impressed he was in this game, watching him.
Yeah.
I reckon we'll see a bit more of it.
I hope we do. I just don't think it'll be that high.
I don't think it'll be 80. I agree with that, but I think it'll be in the 60s.
We're okay. That's the first argument we've ever had on the Don Pod.
All right, I'm going. Bye.
Don't leave me again. Do not.
Cannot handle me by himself, this kid.
I cannot.
Anyway, I guess you're right. We're saying the same thing.
Same, but different, yeah.
Any comments around Jake Stringer?
Well, that's a very good question. Melinda, we're better with Jake in the middle.
I don't disagree with that.
I think we've been very good without Jake in the middle too. I think you're kind of best of both worlds a little bit. Phil thinks Dusty's a better comparison to Stringer than... Yep. I think you're going a little bit the other way with Dusty then, in that... Would Dusty be older than Stringer?
Yeah, he'd have to be. Dusty be in his 30s. Yeah. Stringer's still in his 20s.
Is he? Oh, nice.
Stringer? Yeah, he's 28, maybe 29. I don't think he's 30 yet. We've got the only 30-year-old. I think there's 2 30-year-olds on our list, and one's Heppel and one's Phillips. I'm pretty sure. Maybe that was at the start of the year.
That's my Googling face, in case you're wondering. Yeah, okay, he's just turned 29.
See?
I have to dodge the iPad and dodge the
Whereas mic. Martin would have to be 30, wouldn't he?
Oh, the Dusty, yeah. Not Rusty, that's ours. Dustin Martin, if you forgive the face again, 31, nearly 32. Yeah, so I think you're going a little bit the other way in that.
Yeah, so he's in between those two, DeGoey and Dustin Martin. And he's a bit of a power player like Martin.
Oh, they're all 3 of them are powerful.
I
think Dusty's past it, and that is probably symbolic of the entire Richmond list, seemingly. We can just hang a bit of shit on them for a minute. Yeah. Anyway,
I'd like to see Perkins get a bit more in that midfield role, actually, if I was...
Perky, what'd you say he had?
He did, I think it was just a very small amount. Hang on. 10%. So how many percent of goals were kicked?
There was 36 goals plus 4.
So he did 3, maybe. He must
40.
have 40. Yeah, so he did 4.
He actually, there was a little snippet posted on Twitter by the people that post highlight videos that make my life a lot easier of Perko shaking and baking Dangerfield. Just a little boop at the hips.
He's just so good. He's going to have a big ass when he gets to full size.
Strong through the hips.
Strong through the hips.
You know who I think of when I say strong through the hips or fat ass?
Well, who?
Oh, Watson.
Yeah, he was very strong.
He was the strongest, yeah.
Do you know what I like, though, about those sort of guys is that they really help the outside guys because, like with Perkins, he usually breaks the tackle, unlike the others where Stringer's trying to rip through the tackles, whereas Perkins, he keeps his hands free a lot too, if you notice. Like he's really... So if he does shake the tackle, he runs off. But if he doesn't, he can get the ball out.
Yep.
Which I think is really important for an inside midfielder.
Bit of tackle IQ that I think we still struggle with a little bit is just chuck the hands up. As soon as you feel contact, hands up. Handball.
I think and it was apparent against this game, like how easily we got pushed out of the way, how easily our tackles didn't stick.
But again, you're taking a very... It's not an excuse, it's a reason. You're taking a very inexperienced side, bottom 6 in terms of experience and age and all that, against not only the most experienced and in age and...
they are. They're everything.
Now, but ever.
Well, they're the oldest and the most experienced club in the land.
That old in existence of AFL.
Yep.
So...
Yeah, and I understand that. I just look forward to when we're a little bit bigger.
A little bit bigger. All in good time.
So if we're the 3rd youngest list at the moment, which I think we are somewhere around there,
yeah,
3rd or 4th, then say in 3 years, when we're saying the middle brackets of that, average age bucket, that we'll be sitting somewhere in the 8th oldest or 10th,
well, somewhere in that. Good list management, you want to be a top 4 side and be sort of in that middle 6th to 10th in terms of your list age, maybe.
And I think Melbourne's in that sort of bracket.
I think you don't want...
Whereas
you don't want to be the oldest.
At the wrong end. Like
they're the oldest and no good.
They're 3rd or 4th oldest and they're shocking.
Yeah.
And I think North Melbourne, actually, I don't think they're like 8th. No, they're not young. They're list.
A bit of youth.
Well, they got the guys like Cunnington and a whole bunch of other really old players.
I know he retired. I saw Garnacher in the city on Saturday night.
Did he smack you?
Just out of interest. He's classy looking dude. I didn't say anything because I don't give a shit about North Melbourne, but
no one does.
Side note. Right, move on. I want to mention... No, I was just saying we're going to move on. I want to mention Big Sammy Wiedemann.
Go.
Potential plus kind of player. One of the guys that I think a lot of the media and the AFL community in general probably want to see him get a good go.
Seems like a nice bloke.
And he bobs up, I don't know if I can say bobs up, with 5 goals, 1. Let me just
I think it's his career best.
Career best, 5 goals, correct. And just, look, it was a pretty unremarkable game other than the 5 goals, 14 touches, a couple of 4 marks. 2 tackles, nothing screamingly.
5 goals though.
Brilliant, but 5-1. 5-1. And we're getting kind of used to this whole forwards that can kick straight thing.
It's a whole new world.
The rest of the team that's an issue. I think our ideal scenario would be to have one ruckman in Draper, have Peter Wright as the forward, and have Sammy Wiedemann as the backup ruck.
/ forward.
I think that's the ideal world that Brad Scott wants to live in.
Mm-hmm.
As it is at the moment, we can't have it that way, but to be still kicking, what did Peter Wright kick? 53 goals in 2022? Yep. You're taking him out of a team that already struggled to score, and we're still finding ways to kick 14, 15, 16 goals a game. It's encouraging. It's really good, and Big Sammy, I love a big forward.
Well, the other one too that I probably should have mentioned with the stringer midfield thing would be Langford. Because I think his best role has been in this half-forward position.
Mm-hmm.
And is he the guy that could get more of, say when Peter Wright comes back, Like I can't see again. I can't see the team where Langford, Stringer, Wiedemann, and Wright are all in the same. Like that's five. Like that's one small forward and one bench cover. You know, like that's
you get away with it a little bit because a couple of them are low 190s.
Yeah, but the Langford's marking is his strength is his marking.
Mm-hmm.
He's handy when the ball hits the ground, but he's not like chasing, like Davey chases
quick.
or tipping, like he's not hunting people when haven't got the ball. So you've got to have guys that in the forward half that put pressure on when you don't have the ball.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
And
I see your
Stringer
point.
doesn't do that. It's not Stringer's job either.
No, his strength is with the ball.
And nor is it Peter Wright's or Wiedemann's. That's not going to be their strengths.
No. But it'll be interesting to see because I don't think you don't think you can realistically have any of them out the side.
No, but when we're a good side, those guys won't be. Langford might not be playing for us when we are a good side. Like and that sounds stupid to say because he's been one of our best players. But you have to say, well, where does he play? I can't see him playing in the half back line. He's not a backman. He struggles down there.
He could still be that winger. Who knows?
He could be the winger. I agree, but there seems to be a lot of faith shown into Durham and Martin. And then I still think that Sardis, he's going to come through and be a very, very good football player. So
for a team that's had such a shocking run over the past 6 or 7 years, we seem to have just these players where we can't decide who's better. It makes no sense.
I think maybe we, as in Essendon supporters, have a high opinion of our players than probably they do than other. Yeah,
even us sitting here right now discussing that, I can't think of a player to drop. Still,
I could, but I wouldn't say it because you'll get upset.
Fair enough. I don't know why you're worried about me getting upset. It's good viewing.
I don't want to have another argument with one within, two in an hour. Oh my God.
One in a pod, yeah.
There'd be a divorce.
Very much echo chamber, me and Naif. I think, can we go to the votes? Do you want to go to the votes?
Oh, I love the votes. Yeah, you do yours first.
No, I went first last week. You can.
Okay, I'll go mine first. I went, obviously, 3 stringer. I don't mean to go through the 10 plus clearances, 4 goals and 20 possessions. Wiedemann, 2. I was so excited for him. 5 goals.
Same.
Love it. And I'm going to go Parish with about 472 possessions. And I thought his grunt work was really important. He just gets the job done week in, week out. I think people still underrate him, but I like what he does.
Yep, fair enough.
I could have put Martin in there, but that handball took him out.
Interestingly, I went 3 stringer.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's that interesting. I think that was pretty obvious.
I went to Wiedemann.
Oh, no.
And I did have Parish initially, but I changed my mind because when it mattered, not because of you, we don't talk about it beforehand.
No, we never know. But we don't want to look the same either.
No, we try. I don't want to, but
no.
Sometimes you just have to.
Yep.
I thought when we looked at our best, it was Rusty Martin that got us there. So I gave him the 1. I thought he was, when we were shit, they were all shit. But when we got a bit good, he was the one that really dragged us up. So.
And I agree with that, but the handball killed me.
Yeah, you can't focus on moments.
No, I do though.
Well, you can. I won't.
I'm old-fashioned like that.
I go for impact rather than moments.
A moment.
Unless it's a complete brain fade. He's just had a bit of a mare. That's fine.
He just had a massive fucking mare. But anyway,
it does happen.
On the ball, Blake. He's played 30 games of footy.
Now, I do want to also mention we are 9th now, Richmond's rightful spot.
Which does hurt. I mean, seriously.
2 losses and we dropped 3rd to 9th. I want to say, though, since round 3, so we were 2-0 at that point. Since round 3, we have played 3rd, 12th, 2nd, 1st, and 7th, which is Geelong. Geelong's the 7th. And coming up, we have 4th and 5th, both away.
Oh, fuck me.
So I think to be in the position we're in, if I can take honourable losses and accept where we are compared to the rest of the competition, I think we've absolutely overachieved.
Yeah, look, and it's funny, like we came 4th last or whatever last year. Was it 4th last?
Yeah, it sounds about right.
And then you look at our opening draw, and I go,
we have a really shit month.
Why are we playing Melbourne, Geelong, Brisbane? I'm sorry, Port, which I guess maybe they wouldn't have rated, but Brisbane. And then Richmond. So Like in a 5-game stretch, like, well, that seems
we did have a
harsh,
soft
doesn't it? And
start.
Collingwood, I forgot Collingwood in there.
Well, Collingwood, we know that we're
I
going to
don't know
get
why we get Collingwood. Couldn't we have Melbourne? Oh, sorry, North Melbourne or West Coast or bloody?
We've got them in succession after Richmond, so it does.
But it's a long way away.
What hurts me is that they'll probably find a bit of form by then, and then
Yeah, I know.
have to sweat our.
Oh, Jesus, I hope we don't lose to North Melbourne. There's a couple of people on Twitter that are. I don't understand this mythical bloody rivalry between North Melbourne and Essendon. You're shit. We're not.
It's a little bit small club syndrome in my humblest of opinions. I think
you have no money.
We've been a bit
You're
shit
a tiny
for a
little
while.
club.
We can say that we've been pretty terrible for a long time. That's okay.
Yep.
But we have top 4 supporters.
Yep.
Maybe apart from Sydney.
Well, did you see the numbers at the North Melbourne game? The crowd numbers.
Even I had the pleasure or pain, whichever way you want to put it, of going to St Kilda and Port on Friday night. Had a bit of time to kill in the city.
Yep.
25,000. St Kilda were top of the ladder. If I know you get bandwagoners, every club, it happens. You get bandwagoners. That's completely fine. If we were top of the ladder, that would have been 45.
I'm trying to find. I wanted Melbourne. I'm sure it was something like
25,000 at the G.
25 was it?
About that, I think. Yeah, it was pathetic.
It was fucking atrocious. I'm going like, so Melbourne, they're top 4 for chance to win the flag. I'd say they're somewhere around there.
Well, they're in the window. Yeah.
North Melbourne are all hyped up for their new coach, and you get 25,000 people at your game.
Yep.
Seriously, like even when we were shithouse in 2016, I reckon we were dragging.
We still rocked up. We still rocked up.
We still rocked up. We were getting more numbers than that. Like it's just all your fucking heads in North Melbourne.
Phil's made a good point on the draw, and I didn't realise this. So thanks for that, Phil.
Thanks, Phil. We need people.
And I'm going to read this verbatim because I find it funny.
If you can start writing for us, that'd be nice.
We still get to play both North with an F and Meth Coast twice.
North. Harsh.
Twice. So we still have 4 games against those 2 clubs.
Oh, that's good.
And I don't want to get too excited on camera because we'll probably lose, and this will be clipped on those Twitter pages where
we'll probably lose one of them.
Yeah, probably. That to me is the difference between Essendon 2022 and Essendon 2023. We need to keep winning the games we're expected to win. Yes, it would be nice to get little percentage boosters, sure, but just fucking win them.
Well, let's just not too. I'm happy. That's very good news, Phil. But let's, I guess, try and concentrate on see how we go against Port
and
first.
Honestly, the other side to that is if we're going to make finals,
we're going to beat these.
I want to be beating sides like this. I don't want to get in beating West Coast and North Melbourne 4 times, Hawthorn once, and you scrape in because of that. Because guess what? We're going to lose another final.
Oh, yeah. Well, the top 8 teams at the moment are all playing pretty good footy.
You've got to be, I mean, for one, if we finish 7th or 8th, you're not meant to win a final.
No.
7th maybe because you're playing 6th,
making up
but
the numbers.
8th, you're playing 5th. Like, you're not meant to win that. So finish top 6. Don't scrape in by the skin of your bloody teeth. Anyway.
Let's just beat Port.
Yeah, so good segue, potentially. I did, as I say, get to watch Port. And because of the furor, I mean, I hate St Kilda anyway. They're like my Geelong for you. I can't stand them. They are the most arrogant club.
One premiership.
On field and supporters with just no foundation whatsoever.
One premiership.
So I was kind of going for Port, but not really that interested.
I can say that.
And then they started booing Horn Francis. And I moved myself and went and sat above the Port cheer squad.
Why, Sam?
Because they think it's the thing to do. North Melbourne supporters boo your heart off.
Yeah, of course.
If he's burnt you.
If a number 1 draft pick leaves us the year after we pick him, I'd boo him the year after. But I wouldn't expect other clubs to boo him.
Every reason to boo the guy.
Yep.
St Kilda fans, pull your heads in, please. And he was best on ground. It's
not working.
He's massive. I had no idea. I've never seen him play live. He's huge for a second-year player. But just drag the ball out of the midfield. It was unreal. Anyway, a bit of opposition analysis coming to the Don Pod.
Oh, nice. This is the first.
Sending Nathan to sleep. Yawning over there.
I'm tired, but you know what I'm like at this time of the night.
I know, it's past your bedtime.
Yep.
I think Charlie Dixon presents another Tom Hawkins sized problem, although I don't think Charlie Dixon's quite the quality of player that Tom Hawkins
No,
is.
but he's still. Yeah. I
he's still
did
big and
email a
scary
friend of
again.
ours, a mutual friend of ours, and ask if he could ask Charlie Dixon to not play this week.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I spoke to that mutual friend today and talked up Horn Francis, so I'm going to hate myself.
We should have
come
done
Sunday.
it in front of another person who would have got upset.
No, he wasn't there. I don't know how that made sense, but it did to me. No one.
We know who we're talking about anyway. Moving on.
No one listening's got a clue.
Yep.
It's another massive test. I think Port are better at home. They were very, very, very good to beat St Kilda, and I would. This is an interesting one to see if you agree or not. I would say we're trying to play, or Essendon and St Kilda are trying to play similar brands of football.
Mm-hmm.
The style is the same.
Yep.
So I was interested to see it from that point of view, see how Port Adelaide deal with it. I think St Kilda have a bit more experience in their list,
definitely,
generally speaking. But I think the style that we're trying to play is quite similar. So their defense of the ground against St Kilda was unreal. They had 6 goals kicked against them in the first quarter, but from there conceded 5 across the next 3. So really tightened up with the clearances. Boak was fantastic. Horn Francis, Dixon with our junior Rioli kicked a beautiful little fake goal. You're yawning again. Doesn't it fill me with confidence?
No, it's your friend. Yes, Port Adelaide. You're talking about Port Adelaide.
Well, I think it's just opposition analysis. I think it's good.
It's good. Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
Why are we going to win?
I think ball use needs to be paramount. If we're going to pick them apart and move the ball, transition, all that, it needs to
go away.
Fumbling needs to go. Martin's shitty handball. Notice no S, just one handball that we absolutely torched him for.
He'll be all right.
And BZT just needs to break even on Dixon.
Yeah, so if Dixon kicks 4, we're probably like, well, that's all right. So who are their other tall forwards? Georgiadis is injured, isn't he?
Correct. You want me to talk about Port Adelaide? Are you seriously asking me to talk about Port Adelaide?
No, well, you've started this. I'm just trying to get involved. Marshall, is he played, or was he injured? And I'm mixing him up with Georgiadis.
No, Georgiadis didn't play.
Right, so Marshall
recall Marshall either, to be honest.
And they didn't. Interestingly, too, they didn't play a noted ruckman. They went with Teakle.
Because you know what, ruckmen are overrated.
I got overrated. I wonder though if that's another good opportunity for Bryant to come in, because you're not coming up against 2 big ruckmen. You're coming up against a young kid. So Draper could play more of that forward role. Brian could play more of the ruck role.
The ruck role.
The ruck role. Ruck role.
That's how it will forever be known now. Yeah, Teakle got pantsed by Marshall, but they won the game. So who gives?
That's right. So they're going to play him again. Exactly. What the result? They don't care about.
Irrelevant. Finn Layson's their other forward, who again was very handy
played
off the ground.
He did a bit of ruck.
He did a bit of rucking. So did Dixon. To be fair.
Yeah.
Obviously Ollie Wines, big, strong through the hips.
He's got some big ass on him. That boy, he's
strong through the hips. Yeah, very good. Connor Rose, he's in a bit of form.
Connor Rose, he's very, very talented player.
Pepper's could be anything.
Ugly unit, but he's hard.
He could win the game for them. He could give us 7 50-meter penalties. You never quite know.
Yep. And then there's Butters and the other one too. There's the Rosie Butters, and there's another one.
Were you thinking Dersma?
Dersma.
He did his PCL, so he's Gonski.
Oh. Yep. Yeah, so they got some very good youngish players.
They're a very good list.
Good list, very good list. Disappointing 10 years under one coach, really.
What scares me twofold is Horn Francis and Wines in the midfield is a unique challenge. That's big. Alia is one of the better intercept marking players, so we're going to.
Him and Wiedemann will be a good matchup.
We're going to have to be smart with how we.
I wonder if you bring Jones in for him.
Possibly. I was surprised. He didn't play Anzac Day, did he? He got dropped the week before.
Jones, yeah, he got dropped the week before.
Yeah. They're so close together. My memory's really.
Well, the other one we didn't talk about was Snelling.
Yeah, weird one to drop for 1. Weird one to have as the sub for 2.
I didn't understand the dropping. I thought he'd been pretty good in both games. Very good in the first game. Yeah. He had 7 or 8 tackles in the second game. I mean, that's the sort of stuff I thought kept you in teams.
Yeah, so did I. Anyway.
And as a sub, doesn't work. He's too small.
Like, he offers nothing as a sub.
Yeah, and if you lose at all, he's like, well, this is not a good change.
Yeah.
Again, after we've praised our coaching in the Melbourne
that's
game.
one little thing.
No. I feel as though that it hasn't gone like the
Hobbs as a sub wasn't great.
Hobbs as a sub I didn't love, and Snelling as a sub I don't love. Like there's got to be something a little bit different, like either bringing in pure pace, like Hind. Hind is a good sub.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably actually a better sub than a player.
Bit like Guelphy.
Guelphy.
Poor Guelphy. Brutally honest. I love Guelph.
No, who doesn't?
Can we answer that?
Yep. Any comments?
Well, I was just giggling because Josh has called us the Port Pod, which if there are any Port fans listening, I think that's a great name for a pod, the Port Pod. Dixon isn't anywhere near as dangerous. Riddles will handle him. I agree that he's not as dangerous, but it's the shape, it's the size and the strength that concerns me.
It's the mental scars from this week, if they carry through.
Apparently we play Geelong and Collingwood again. I know we play Collingwood again. I didn't know we play Geelong again. Oh, we do, down at Goomba. Oh, shit. Yeah, okay. Might go to that one. I like going interstate for games.
Shit ground. Hurry up and finish it, you stupid bloody Geelong construction
it looks
people.
awful, doesn't it? Phil says Paul Barnard was strong through the hips. I like this terminology.
He had a fat ass. He looked like Paul Barnard actually looked like he had really short legs, was the thing with him. I remember him. He looked like his legs weren't quite in proportion with the rest of his body.
Not proportioned.
That brought his hips down lower.
Great commentary name, isn't it? Barnard. Real good name. That's about it.
The Brute. I think we called him the Brute.
Yeah, figures. Him and Wellman kind of morph into one player.
Not a Wellman.
Memory.
Loved Wellman.
I was about 7 when I knew who Sean Wellman was, and I'll tell you, he wasn't Sean. It was Scene when I read it on paper. A 7-year-old, Scene Wellman.
Scene Wellman. I used to always say, not a Wellman.
Wellman. He was pretty well. So then I'll mention Reid because he was mentioned. In the press conference. Basically, Scott pretty much suggesting he's not coming in next week. When he comes into this side, I want him there for 7 years.
Yep.
And he does not come out. So suggested that there's no immediate plans for Zach Reid to be in that side, which I fully support. I'd rather 100%. Lose games of football than risk him
100%
anymore. That's completely fine. So what would your changes be? At this point in time, Durham is out with a one-match suspension.
I want to just follow up on that point you made. I really love that comment from Brad Scott about Reid. That probably made the day for me. Like, but that's the vision I want to see. Like, yeah, look, he's going to be a really, really good player, but he doesn't need to play now. We don't need to be good right now. We need to be getting better and better in the years progressing. I thought that's exactly right.
Yep. I love it.
Anyway, the outs.
So Durham's assumed at this point. Yep.
Yeah, Durham. Snelling would have to go out and not come in as a sub. Because he's either in the team as a 22.
So if he's not an out, then yes, he's in the 22.
Yeah, yep.
It's confusing.
Jeez, I don't know.
I don't think they
didn't play a VFL game. So, I mean, you need to find a wingman. I mean, you could restructure and send Langford out there, bring in Davey.
Heppel. Heppel's probably going to come back.
Heppel will play then. That's pretty straightforward. Heppel will play the wing role, wing half back. They might push like him and Langford or him and Martin, or they'll just push someone extra into that. Shield might play a bit more wing instead of half forward, so they'll just probably move that around. But that'll be just Heppel for Durham. Yeah. I would like to see. Obviously, I'd like to see Phillips out and Brian in would be the other one for me because I think that's
plausible.
I think it's time for that one.
Yeah, I think that's very plausible.
And he's not a kid. We're not talking about he played all. I think he was our best and fairest VFL last year, wasn't he?
Brian, yeah,
Brian, yeah. So he's played all last year. He had a little, maybe the year before, but he's had a little niggle at the start of the year, and then he got over that and played a few games. So. I reckon he missed it. I reckon he missed 1 or 2 rounds at the start, and they played the big Irishman in the ruck, who then got concussed.
Yeah, right. Okay. So, follow-up questions. Davey Jr.?
Davey Jr., I would want to see back in the time. I think we need that pace. Yeah, I would like to see probably, if I was really honest, I'd like to see Hind out.
He didn't offer much. Compared to his impact as the sub, I think you're getting a bit more out of him as a sub, but they can't be subs forever, just the same. And Menzie was also managed as opposed to omitted
Yeah, and see, Menzies had a pretty bad game in his last game. Was that the Anzac game?
Day,
yeah. But then no. Yeah, must have been, yeah, sorry. I would, yeah, I mean, I think him and Davey have actually been really good in the team, and depending on fitness and night of both of them, I'd like to see them back in it, and I don't know how that works, though. I mean, I'll tell you one, you could probably get Tip and Woody could probably be a sub. He can play that role.
He didn't have much of an impact.
No. But he's got to play some games. Like, he hadn't played a lot of footy. Like, I was surprised he came in because even though he'd been playing a bit of VFL, like, he'd only played 3 games, I think.
Like, yeah, it kind of went against what Brad Scott had said at the start of the year. I didn't expect it. I thought he's a sub or he's VFL.
But maybe it was like, well, we need someone in that role, and he's the only one because Davey and Menzies need a rest because they're
possibly. Wanganeen's had reasonable form. That could have.
I agree. Wanganeen's had
been an option,
but maybe they would have thought that's another young kid that's going to get pushed around by Big Geelong. We need a big body. So where's Tip and Woody? He's big through the hips.
He's big through the hips. He is massive.
Yep. So
I want to.
What about you?
I think I have no idea. I think all the points we've just mentioned are reasonable options to change. I don't think I've given up trying to predict it because I wouldn't have had Davey Jr. out last week. I wouldn't have had Jones out the week before. So I got no idea. I think Heppel comes back in, absolutely, and Durham's out. That's all I've got, really. I want to ask you a question, and we're going to change the subject completely here. And this is going to be controversial. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts. Not about Port. No, not the Port pod. The Don pod. Merch coming soon. We were sitting there, I think, at half time, and being a home game, you get used to the people that are around you because we all have the same seats. And myself and my mate Brian,
I'll experience that, Sam.
Myself and my mate Brian behind me, who got the membership the same year I did. It's a great love story, me and Brian. Brian and I, you weren't there. We were talking about the father-son rule. Bit of a hypothetical. Is it? I'm going to preface this with, if it was Essendon that had got Ashcroft or Dacos, yes, my opinions would probably be very different. Is it fair?
Yes.
First and foremost.
Well, probably not. No, but it's a hard thing to be fair.
It is. So you've gotten Collingwood and Brisbane, who are both in years where they finished top 6. I don't know about either of them when they got that player, but 2 very good clubs who got generational talents when a club like North Melbourne, not that I want to defend them in any way, shape or form, missed out.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one.
That sucks, but
that they get a discount on it. And
I see what you're saying, but I mean, a player like Dacos doesn't come along.
No, it doesn't. But
he's a generational player too, and
this is kind of what we were talking about. Can there be? This is hypothetical, and I'm torn in myself about it a little bit. If it's a top 10 pick, does it need to change? Can we look at a top 10 draft pick and go, well, maybe you get a surcharge rather than a discount? A discount doesn't make any sense.
No, because I think it's a
one draft pick.
I think what you're forgetting too, that is there's the emotional part of it too, is that the son gets to play where his father played, where he gets to play where he grew up and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's the important part of it.
I have nothing against.
I know, but you're saying that it's not fair that when really talented sons arrive and go to good clubs, they're already good clubs. But that's just the way it is. Like
it is the way.
Joe Watson.
If
Joe Watson had been a better player as an 18-year-old,
I fully accept that.
He went on to win a Brownlow. Don't care what they tell us.
Don't go there. Fully support that if it was if we had benefited to that length, I would be so supportive of it.
And the Western Bulldogs in the moment would have 5, I would say. Liberatore, West, Darcy.
I've
done all right there.
They get 10% off the points to bid for a player that I just think it's.
I understand your point.
I don't know.
I have no problem with it. I disagree with your issue.
I don't have a problem, but I think it's a question mark a little bit.
I don't. I do not want it changed. I like the way it is.
Okay.
Because if you change it, you know what will happen. That we'll have, I don't know whose son it is right now. There could be a 14-year-old right now that's on his way to being a top 5 pick that will be coming to us.
I still think the father-son thing is completely fine. It's how they end up at the club that I maybe would question. But
no, I don't have a problem.
You can't change it now because Ashcroft and Dacos have already gone to Collingwood and Brisbane. So,
yep. And I think you can't worry about it's not always going to happen that the best club somehow picks up the best kid.
No, it's not. But it's been
just happened twice in the last 2 years. Yeah.
Darcy, if you include Bulldogs, who were quite high up when that.
Yeah, but he's before he won't be a good player. Maybe
he's a project player.
Yeah, he's
a long term.
Anyway, you don't know with him as much.
I just thought worth the conversation, and it'll be interesting to see the comments because I'm probably coming across just a little bit
as a wanker. Yep,
about Collingwood and Brisbane. But
yeah, I think that's what it sounds a bit more like that. It's the.
I don't disagree with it. I just think it's an interesting setup. Anyway.
I mean, you wouldn't have said it if it was just Josh Dacos and what's his name more. It's only really Nick that you don't like.
Well, I like him,
but the fact that how good he is, and they got him.
Yeah. All right, move on.
Yep. Technically, though, North Melbourne should have bid on the prick number 1, really, and made Collingwood pay up.
Price.
Yeah,
yes,
and they didn't.
I agree.
I don't understand that still. I don't understand why you would like if he says, "Oh, if Collingwood don't bid, then you get him for a year at least." As history shows with North Melbourne, you can only keep him for a year.
Too soon.
And I would say too, Sheasel and not Wardlaw
went. No, it was.
They will be. Sheasel's already showing to be a very, very good.
It is Wardlaw.
It's Wardlaw. Sheasel's already shown to be a very, very good football player, and that Wardlaw will be better. So. Do not worry that they have made good choices in picking those two.
100%. It was just a conversation more than anything else.
That's what the smart move is, to try and trade. If you've got the one pick, and I don't know, if you're smart enough and you can do. Clubs aren't going to do that because they go, well, I've already got him coming. I don't need to swap picks to get him.
Yeah. I think my issue is more that it's the father-son aspect is fine. It's the discount. It's everything else. They get concessions on getting a freaking good player.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, all right.
You just sound like bitter.
Can I have a tip for Port, please? I'm happy.
Essendon.
You say that like it's so obvious.
Well,
by
12 points. If we can get our starts up and go, like if we don't give them a 5 or 6 goals head start, then we're in the game until the last quarter, and then anything can happen. So that's my...
Okay, if we keep more goal, we win.
Yeah, I know that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, let's if we can switch on at the first bounce, which we did against Collingwood, we did against Melbourne. If you watch those games, we were switched on straight away, and that held us. You know, when they kicked 3 or 4, we were able to kick 3 or 4 back, and that's where the game even flowed. Collingwood just were too good in the last quarter. Better side.
Yep.
That's the fact. Geelong beat us in that first 20 minutes.
And it was even from that point.
And it was even for there. Like, they wouldn't have ran away. My point is that Geelong wouldn't, if the score was equal at 3/4 time, Geelong wouldn't have kicked the last 6. And I reckon that's...
No, because they're all old and
slow
falling apart by that point. Yeah,
hamstrings would have pinged. Yep.
Yours? I'm sick of being the voice of reason.
Important lead.
Essendon by 75. I'm going to leave that at that because if it comes off, I look like a freaking genius.
If it comes off, I'm putting money on them right now.
Remember that game we beat St Kilda at the start of 21, I think, or maybe even last year. We smashed them. No one expected that to happen. Yeah. Phil has a comment on the father-son.
Go, Phil.
I think it's fine. Maybe you make them pay full price rather than the discount.
Yeah. But is that doesn't change much?
Loosely. No, it doesn't. But it costs them more draft picks down the draft further.
Yeah, and that's fair enough.
Hinder them ever so slightly more.
It does. But then clubs have got to make them pay too. Again, North Melbourne didn't.
Yes, you're right. They do.
And to that point, no one made us pay for Davey. Like, seriously, someone should have bid on him at 15, 16, and we got him in the end for pick 30 or 40.
That is still a risk at that point, though, because if we'd said, no, you can have him, and he's not a pick 16, well, then the other club's lost out. Like,
but you clearly would have picked him. We would have taken him at 16.
Oh, I think so, but generally. Josh has asked a question too, and I'll get you to be brief because we've gone over a bit. It just disappeared. What do you think the plan should be about a big-bodied backman? Seen some say go for Mackay or Himmelberg since we've got the dollars.
I would go after Himmelberg more than Mackay. Mackay, to me, from the outside, looks very injury prone. Like, doesn't seem to play. I'd love to see his numbers. If you could bring up his numbers, Sam, over the last 3 or 4 years of how many games he's played. Come on.
He's been.
I would guess there might be 1 year out of that where he's played 20, but the other ones it seems to be like 16 or 17. Like, he just seems to be a bit broken. Whereas Himmelberg plays a lot, and Himmelberg, he's got a lot of talent. He's not as big.
So, no, he's not as big. He's only 195, Himmelberg.
Yep.
Ben Mackay Day, he is.
He is?
I was going to say.
Debut?
I was going to say debuted, yeah, but he's born. I said it was the wrong date. He's 26.
Yep, perfect age. No problem with his age.
Debuted in 2017, right? So from 2017, he played 1 game. Then he didn't play a game in 2018. 2019, he played 3 games. 2020, he played 11 out of 16, I think that was in that season.
Yep.
2021, he's played all 22.
Yep, that's the one. 2022,
he played 15.
Yep.
And so far in 2023, he's played 3.
Yeah, 3. Yeah, so that's 1 season. He's played 1 full season.
Yeah, I think
he's a very good football player, but I don't know if you chase that and throw a lot of money at that. That to me is just a bit. That's where I'm like, no. When you chase someone with a lot of money, you want them to 100%. Play.
You don't want another Dylan Shield
out for the next 7 years. Like, I don't want him. No, he's broken again. Like Stringer is an example. Very, very good football player when he's on the field, but frustrating that when he's broken.
But we didn't pay too much for him, so it's kind of okay.
It was fine. We paid bugger all for him. Got him with a discount bid.
Opinion is, I don't think Mackay's obtainable. I think if he leaves North Melbourne, he's going to play for Carlton.
I would find it hard that he would want to leave Clarkson. You'd think that North Melbourne players there would think that, well, we're not successful here, I'm not going to be successful, surely.
Yep. Either way, if he stays, obviously we're not going to get him. If he does leave, I don't think we're going to be the club of choice.
My other point on... Yep, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I was pretty happy on Himmelberg, and then I looked at his sort of height, and he's not really doing anything for us.
No, he's not big enough, but I think he's a very talented player. If you could get him, you'd probably find a role for him. But
ultimate swingman.
Yep. What I would say is that you've got to. I know it hurts. I know this is not what you want, but you've got to say, look, Reed Cox, that young kid we picked up this year in the draft at picked 18.
Lenny Hayes, but not Lenny.
Hayes, who's Hayes' brother, who plays for Port. His brother plays for Port. Mm-hmm. Now, they're the ones you've got to say, well, we've just got to put time. Because if you bring a Mackay into that team, one of those guys doesn't even play for us, really. Because BCT, you can't have BCT, Mackay, Hayes, and Reed. Like, that's 4 200-centimetre players in your back line. I don't know how that would.
My point on getting a free agent, and I'm only talking free agent, I don't want to be trading for that kind of player, is that they're 26, you'd assume, if they're coming into free agency. So there's 4 to 6 years of them being
good
peak. We'll say 4 years of them being in their prime.
Yep. 6.
That gives, probably 6, because the bigger guys generally last a little bit longer. But that gives Reed that time to develop without having to come in and play on Hawkins, on Cameron, on Charlie Dixon, whatever it might be. It's okay because you're getting that cover in a time when they're probably not going to play anyway. And Reed's 2 years ahead of. Well, Reed's probably. I don't think you
can say Reed's not going to play for 4 years.
No, but it takes the pressure off his depth in that time, rather than us going, "Holy shit, we need this." What kid if he just leaves
because he can't get a game?
Else. Well, you could say that about anyone, but these guys don't come good until they're 23, 24, 25-year-old. So we've got a little bit of time to play with, particularly for Hayes. Where we can cover that. But I'm not against it fundamentally, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not against it fundamentally, but I don't think it's not anything. I think it's not the biggest problem that we're facing. Like, yes, it looks like a problem when you have Tomahawk kick 8 against you, but Tomahawk is 34 or whatever he is, 35. Yep. Like
34, you're right.
He's not going to be playing probably next year. Like, he has to retire at some stage.
Pretty bloody good.
Some stage. And then after that, the big-bodied full forwards, I'd probably say the other Mackay, the brother at Carlton, he'd be a big unit.
They're both the same person, aren't they?
Hey?
They're both the same person, aren't they?
Yes, that's true. But then what I think the concern is of the next generations of forwards, they're the King brothers. They're those really, like,
Tall,
and
lanky.
Darcy, like they're 202 centimeter ruckman-esque sort of players. And Mackay, I don't think would go. I'd rather have a Reed personally in 3 years playing on King. Like,
yeah, you're right. Long term is we've got the players, we just need to make sure we develop them properly. But
exactly,
it is a little bit of a band-aid that would improve us in the short term.
Exactly, it's a band-aid, and I would say I can see why we do it, and I'd probably go, yeah, it's good. But I think you just have to, like, personally, free agency. What if you? Who would you go after if you could go after anyone? Say if free agents wanted. Say we could get any person from any club. Who would make our team better and be in the right age bracket?
That's a really difficult question with no time to really think about it.
I would go after, say,
I'd be going after one of the King brothers.
Well, I would. Yeah, that's a good example. I would probably, if you could get anyone, I'd go after Dacos. That pure quality, talented midfielder who can kick all day to your forwards.
If we had a choice, though, of anyone, I'm getting key position. I'm not getting, and yeah, Dacos is going to be.
I don't think key position. Yeah. So what you're saying that Wright is not. So if you got a King, would Wright still play?
Yeah, but that's taking out Jones then at that point.
Yeah, and that's okay because I don't know. We don't know what Jones is going to be like.
Harris Andrews. Someone's just commented, Phil. Andrews. That's
Harris
a good
Andrews. Shout. Oh yeah.
That kind of player.
Yeah, that kind of player, which I think we think Reed is, which we think
if he was,
we think Hayes is. Yeah, that's right. They're just. I mean, it'll be interesting to know his career. Like, what age did he start playing 20 sort of games or 15 games of footy?
Well, this is inherently the thing. We've mentioned it a couple of times. We are very impatient as a supporter group.
Yep.
We were impatient on Zerk Thatcher. He was being traded 400 times over the last 6 years.
I hated him.
When he came in for that final against West Coast, he was god awful. But you know what? He was like 22.
Yep.
And now you go, hey, he's a good player. That's because they take longer.
Yep. Yeah, but and that's right, and that's why I'm hesitant. This is the reason why I'm hesitant to bring in a Mackay, because I'm like, but what if that pushes out a player that could be better? Could be the unknown. Yes. Like, what you get with Mackay? Got that.
That is my point.
Reid could be the best tall defender in. He could win 4 All-Australians.
He could. My point to that is that you're not pushing out a player because there's no one coming into that spot and playing that role that well over the next 2 or 3 years. You may be losing out on a bit of development. But
that's where I think that we disagree there. I think that if Reid plays, say, 4 or 5 more games in the VFL and has good form, then I'm sure he would come into the seniors and play the second half of the year. That would be the goal.
Yeah. I like this theory of who would we take if we could take anyone, though, because maybe.
Well, I still think when you look at teams that split, that are the best, it's because of like a Petrarca or Oliver. You think of Melbourne, Brisbane. Brisbane are a funny group because Lucky Neil been really good for them, but he's not someone I'd chase. Like, I wouldn't go after him.
You know who I'd be going after?
Who? Jeremy
Cameron or Tom Hawkins, and just chuck him on the bench, and so we don't have to deal with them anymore.
Well, Jeremy Cameron's a great shout. Like a mobile key forward like that. They're really hard to find. I'd have him.
I was more just saying bench him, so we don't have to deal with them
so
anymore.
They don't kick 10 goals against us in a quarter.
Yeah.
I get the joke. I'm just saying that he would like.
I think we've waffled it.
Yep. Sorry.
Long enough. No, that's fine. It was both of us because I like the hypotheticals.
I do too. Because when we lose, you have to go You have to go into your little mind, into your safe space in your head.
The final point on argument that I would make against free agency now, the main theme with that suggestion, we have the money. We have a bit of cash to throw at someone.
Exactly.
Couple of factors there. One, we're going to have to throw a bit of cash at Darcy Parish to keep him.
Yep. And other players.
But Parish is free agency this year, so there's a consideration for us there. Same with Red Dog, although less, I would think. 2 is
he's not going real well.
In 3 or 4 years' time, we are pushing top 4 and we go, oh shit, we just need another whatever.
Something.
And there is a player who's a free agent and who we want to have that money at that point to go, right.
And he wants to come to us because we're in the window.
Yeah, now we can Band-Aid because we're there.
That's right. I agree with that. And I think I'm still burnt from the last time we Band-Aided because we thought we were good and we got stuck with a lot of players that I don't think were very good.
I think they were okay.
They were okay, but we got ahead of ourselves. We thought, oh, well, look at us. We're going to win a premiership. We need to get some players in.
Yeah.
We can't do that again. We can't just because we've been all right this year. Okay, let's get a 26-year-old in. No, let's just be crap again next year and see where we're at. Like, even to the point of playing the kids, find out who we got.
Yep. Sorry. Not yawning. Promise. I think it is well past your bedtime and it's getting towards mine. So
I won't know who won Lego Masters tonight.
You'll have to go find out.
Hope the kids recorded it.
I'm sure they will. Look after their old man. Emphasis on the old.
All right, wrap this up.
Wrap it up. We'll leave it there. Port Adelaide Sunday afternoon, podcast on Monday night next week. All the same, nothing ever changes, and a very big surprise. We're excited coming next week. It's for us. It's really not that interesting to anyone else, I'm sure. But
the clue is short or tall.
We are short or tall, and I'll do a little. There you go. That was your clue.
Oh. Pause that, people.
Head to YouTube if you missed that because it's more of a visual gag. All right. Go Dons. We'll chat to you next week.
Go Bombers!